Thank you, Tim, and the Denver Gold Forum for inviting Wallbridge to present our company. I'll be making some forward-looking statements, so please read our disclaimer on our website. Wallbridge has been actively exploring on the Fenelon gold property that we purchased from Balmoral in late 2016. This was a small 10 square kilometer property that we've so far demonstrated a multi-million ounce potential on this small land package. Since then, we've also acquired Balmoral resources and consolidated a land package along this prospective belt near the Thunder Lake Deformation Zone. We essentially controlled about 90 kilometer strike length of this belt, right from the Ontario border over 90 kilometers towards the Quebec. This underexplored belt hosts several large gold systems, as it's evident from the D2 Lake on the Ontario side, our Fenelon gold on the eastern side, and the Martiniere, which we own as part of the acquisition of Balmoral, about halfway between the two. In terms of the investment criteria, there are certain things that the investors look for. One is the property, its jurisdiction or location, management track record, just to name a few. So I'll be focusing on the property first. I think it's important to understand why we believe that it has a multi-million ounce potential. So far we've demonstrated about 4 mineralized environments on the property. The Gemibra zones to the north, this is the high-grade shear zones that were focus of the previous owners as well as Wallbridge to the end of 2018. And this is also where we completed a bulk sample from this area. The other mineralized environment is the Area 51 and the Tabasco and Cayenne corridors. We actually discovered in late 2018, early 2019, following up on some of the magnetic low based on the geophysics mapping. And we discovered this Area 51, and following up on the Area 51 zones, we encountered the lower portions of the Tabasco and Cayenne. These are high-grade shear zones that are several meters with quite metal-enriched, gold-enriched shear zones that we've been following up, and we've demonstrated its size potential. The last mineralized environment that has been identified is really the Reaper Ripley zone that was discovered by Balmoral in late 2019, early this year. And since then, obviously, we've acquired the Balmoral resources, so we now control the entire property. And we've actually increased the size of the Fenelon from 10.5 square kilometer to over 85 square kilometer just on this property alone. And that area would be the focus of this year as well as next year in order to follow up on the mineralized systems that we've already identified on our own property and connection of those to the nearby properties that we just acquired. So let's talk about some of these environments, mineralized environments in more detail. We've got the Gemibra zone. We completed the bulk sample. We did some infrastructure into this zone in 2018 and early 2019. The bulk sample generated about 33,000 tons of about 18.5 grams a ton. Excellent recoveries of over 98%. We actually toll milled it at a nearby mill facility. One of the reasons we did this bulk sample is trying to follow up on some of these high-grade, triple-digit grades of gold over several meters, and we wanted to see its continuity, we wanted to see its recoverability, and more importantly, we also wanted to see the bulk mineability of these rather than in narrow vein mining. So as you can see from this table, we've got stope averaging roughly about 4,500 tons, and the grades range anywhere between 10 to 38 grams a ton. So this was basically the focus of ours until the discovery of the Tabasco Cayenne zones and the Area 51. Now, Tabasco Cayenne corridors these are shear zones within the sediments. In the upper area, they're still high grade but very narrow, anywhere between half a meter to a meter, but roughly around 350-400 meters when it gets near these more favorable host environments such as the diorite and the gabbro, they tend to get into these more brittle environments, and they widen as well as more endowed in gold and enriched. As you can see here in one section, you can see this Tabasco in the upper areas had a meter of high grade, but getting down you see right around below 350-400 meters you got 48 meters of 22 grams a ton or 9 meters of 32 grams a ton. Now this Tabasco obviously provides quite a large potential for a large underground bulk mineable type of a scenario. In terms of size perspective of why we believe that this property has a multi-million ounce potential, here is just a long section through that Tabasco. We've identified about 600 to 700 meters strike length of that so far, and you can see in here that we've drilled it down to about 900 meters. The high-grade mineralized environment really starts around 350, 400 meters, down to 900. That's a 600 meter strike length, about 500 to 600 meter vertical. The average through thickness in this mineralized zones is about 10 to 12 meters. And the weighted average grade so far drilled on this whole zone, regarding of whether it's a low grade or high grade, the weighted average is roughly about 8 to 10 grams a ton. So you can see the size potential in this one shear zone alone. Just about 100 meters north of this, we've got the Cayenne Zone that we've identified. Obviously, we knew about the Cayenne Zone previously, but we also believed that these were, narrow, high-grade shear zones within the sediments. But the recent drilling has identified that the Cayenne also behaves very similar to the Tabasco, as it's evident here from 11 meters of 17 grams a ton or 15 meters of 24 grams a ton. Our focus this year will also be not only following up on the Tabasco, its infill as well as the extension of the Tabasco, but drilling beyond that an additional 100 to 200 meters to follow up on this Cayenne Zone and be able to understand its size potential. Now I talked about the Area 51. Area 51 are these network of veins. Roughly so far we've identified about 28 of these veins within this Jeremy diorite, which is a very brittle environment. It has these high-grade veins surrounded by disseminated gold. It gives us the optionality for being able to look at this from an open pitable potential near surface, but also because it plunges down to the northeast. We also see that at depth it gets very close to our Tabasco Cayenne corridors. Here's a good example in here. On the left side of the figure you can see that this is near surface, so the optionality of being able to look at this from an open pitable type of a scenario. But down about 500 meters near the high-grade zones of the Tabasco and Cayenne, with very little infrastructure, you'd be able to add to those ounces from these high-grade veins in the Area 51. And these are high-grade in nature as well, because there's still like 3.5 to 4 meters of 18 to 20 grams a ton in these zones as well. So it could certainly add to the ounces to that production profile of the Tabasco Cayenne as well. So I talked about the extensions of the current known mineralized environments that we have on our own Fenelon and down into the newly acquired land package that we received from Balmoral. Balmoral had discovered this Ripley Reaper zone in late 2019, early this year, and just about a week ago we announced the discovery that these Area 51 veins that we have on our own Fenelon seem to continue all the way down another 850 meters towards the Sandy Lake Deformation Zone, as is evident from about 6 of the holes that we've drilled that have intersected. 4 of them have intersected visible gold, but more importantly we see from the oriented drill core that we see that these are the same fashion as the Area 51 veins. Obviously our focus this year and next year will be to follow up on this in this area to see this potentially a large open pitable type deposits within this Jeremy diorite. And obviously we are going to also review the drilling program that we envisioned for this year and next year, perhaps to add to that, particularly because of the same reason that this is now identified a very large system. So I talked about the property. I think we checked the box on that with respect to the prospectivity. Let's talk about the jurisdiction. We're in Quebec. It's not in the middle of the Andes or in West Africa. This is a very mining-friendly jurisdiction. It has very good skilled workforce, good network of infrastructure. We have a road that's connecting to nearby municipalities. There's a 22-kilometer road to the site that we maintain. Power line is about 20 kilometers from the site. And also the First Nation communities are very economic development friendly. And there is also a good skilled workforce in Quebec. So altogether we also check the box with the location as well. A lot of the investors talk about management's past track record. We like to focus on our own current track record. We purchased this property for $3.5 million Canadian in late 2016. We expect to come up with our maiden mineral resource estimate by next year this time. So in less than 5 years, we brought it from basically a discovery of this Area 51 Tabasco all the way to its mineral resource estimate. We believe that that's quite good, and it shows the team's work with respect to how they've been able to accelerate that. But more importantly, we've consolidated this whole land package of over 900 square kilometers along this belt that is very underexplored, and also demonstrates, you know, large gold systems within this, you know, this package of land of over 90 kilometers strike length. Those criteria are good. We check the boxes. But what's more important is that it's coupled with a good exploration program and good results. This year we have an aggressive over 100,000 meter exploration program on the Fenelon property. The majority of that, about 80,000 plus meters of that, will be focusing on this box, this small box in here, which is basically continuing the infill as well as the expansions of the Area 51 Tabasco Cayenne corridors. And the balance of that would be basically looking at regional exploration, but more importantly being able to see the continuation of those Area 51 veins down to the Sunday Lake Deformation Zone. But as I mentioned, since the last press release that we had about a week ago, we now need to review our current program as well as next year's program in order to see if there is it warrants us to add additional meters and additional focus in this area, because obviously it has the potential for a very large open pitable type deposit as well. So we talked about the property, we talked about the location, management, and also the fact that we have a good exploration program. But we also have that coupled with supportive shareholders such as Eric Sprott, as well as William Day, as well as Kirkland Lake Gold. Eric Sprott owns about 21% of the company, and Kirkland Lake Gold owns about 8% of the company, and William Day owns about another 8% of the company. In terms of cash, we have a little over $40 million in the treasury, and we believe that we'll be able to carry out this year's program and well into next year. But depending on the circumstances and the review of the current expansions of that drilling in the area from Area 51 down to the surrounding land package, we'll be reviewing our plans and determine what required funds we need in the near term to into next year. So this year's program plus 100,000 meters, next year anywhere between 100 to 150 or more, and the maiden resource by next year. So these are all the catalysts for a good investment in Wallbridge. Thank you.